My husband's side chick kept sending me proof of their affair, so I hired her as my divorce lawyer. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I do. 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. A beautiful house in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina, a husband who brought me coffee in bed every Sunday, 2 golden retrievers named Biscuit and Gravy, the whole package. Then my phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Unknown number. I almost didn't open it, but something made me click. It was a photo of my husband, Garrett Prescott, kissing someone in a parking garage. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 hours earlier. He told me he was working late on the Henderson account. My hands started shaking. Another message came through. I think you deserve to know the truth. Then another photo. Garrett and this woman at a restaurant. Then another. Them holding hands walking down a street I didn't recognize. Then a video of them in what looked like a hotel room, and I closed it before I could see more. I sat there on my bed, still wearing my fuzzy socks and the oversized t-shirt I'd stolen from Garrett years ago, staring at my phone like it was a bomb that had just gone off in my hands. The messages kept coming, screenshots of texts between them, receipts from hotels, calendar appointments. This woman was giving me a complete dossier of my husband's infidelity. I didn't sleep that night. Garrett came home around 1 a.m., smelling like his usual cologne and that minty gum he always chewed. He kissed my forehead, asked if I was still awake. I pretended to be asleep. What else was I supposed to do? The messages continued the next day and the next, always from the same unknown number. After a week, I finally responded. Who are you and what do you want? The reply came instantly. My name is Jillian Thorne. I'm an attorney and I want to help you leave him. I stared at that message for probably 10 minutes. An attorney. His mistress was an attorney. Why? I typed back. Because he promised me he'd leave you 6 months ago, then 3 months ago, then last month. I'm done being lied to, and you deserve better than being lied to too. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud, sitting in my car in the Target parking lot. A woman pushing a cart full of diapers gave me a concerned look through my window. This was insane. This whole situation was absolutely insane. But here's the thing about rock bottom. Once you hit it, you stop caring about what's sane and what isn't. I texted back, "You want to help me? Then be my divorce lawyer." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Are you serious? Dead serious, I typed. You clearly know everything about the affair. You're already motivated to screw him over. And honestly, the irony of it is the only thing keeping me from screaming in this parking lot right now. I specialize in family law. Divorce is actually my main practice. Perfect. When can we meet? That's how I found myself sitting in a corner booth at a coffee shop downtown, waiting to meet my husband's mistress. She walked in at exactly 3 p.m. I recognized her immediately from the photos. Tall brunette, probably early 30s. She wore a navy pantsuit and carried a leather briefcase that looked more expensive than my car payment. She was beautiful. Of course she was beautiful. Jillian slid into the booth across from me without offering to shake hands. Smart. I might have broken her fingers. Before we start, she said, her voice crisp and professional, I need you to know something. I didn't know he was married. Not at first. I must have made a face because she held up her hand. I know how that sounds. I know you probably don't believe me. But Garrett told me he was divorced, showed me an apartment he claimed was his. We met at a legal conference in Atlanta 8 months ago. He said he was a consultant, recently single, no kids. We don't have kids, I said quietly. I know. He told me that much was true, Jillian said. Said you'd been trying, but it wasn't working out. Used it as part of his sob story about why the marriage ended. My chest tightened. We had been trying for 2 years. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with either of us. Just bad luck, they said. Keep trying. I found out the truth 4 months ago, Jillian continued. I went to surprise him at his office.
His secretary called him Mr. Prescott and asked how his wife was doing. I played it cool, but I did some digging. Found your wedding photos online, your social media, everything. And I didn't end it. She looked down at her coffee. He cried, told me he was in the process of leaving you, but wanted to wait until after your mother's surgery, that he didn't want to stress you out during a difficult time. My mother had her gallbladder removed 4 months ago. Minor surgery, but Garrett had been so attentive, so caring. Brought her flowers at the hospital, held my hand in the waiting room. I felt sick. When that excuse expired, he had another one, then another. I'm not proud of it, but I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Jillian's jaw tightened. Until 2 weeks ago, when I overheard him on the phone with you planning your anniversary dinner, your 10-year anniversary, which he told me was 5 years ago. Our anniversary is next month, I said. I know. He made reservations at that French place on Trade Street. I saw the confirmation email. L'Amour, our favorite restaurant, where he'd proposed. Something in me snapped. What do I need to do? I asked. Jillian opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. First, we document everything. Then, we destroy him. Over the next hour, Jillian laid out a strategy that was so thorough, so brutal, so perfectly calculated that I almost felt bad for Garrett. Almost. She'd already compiled evidence of his affair, hotel receipts he'd charged to his business account, text messages, photos, but she wanted more. North Carolina is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still affect the distribution of assets, she explained, especially if we can prove he used marital funds to support the affair. He did, I said. He has a credit card I don't usually check for business expenses. Get me the statements and you can legally represent me. Isn't there some kind of conflict of interest? Jillian smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I never represented Garrett. I was never his attorney. I was just someone he was sleeping with. There's no conflict. And trust me, I want this as much as you do. I believed her. That night, Garrett came home with flowers. Grocery store flowers, the cheap kind wrapped in cellophane. What's this for? I asked, taking them. Do I need a reason to buy my beautiful wife flowers? He kissed my cheek, hummed while he loosened his tie, asked what was for dinner like this was just another normal Tuesday. I wanted to throw the flowers at his head, wanted to scream, wanted to show him every message Jillian had sent me. Instead, I smiled and said, I made your favorite, chicken parmesan, because Jillian had been very clear. Don't let him know anything is wrong. Not yet. We need time to build the case, she'd said, and we need him to feel comfortable enough to make mistakes. So I played the loving wife. I smiled and laughed at his jokes. I asked about his day. I pretended everything was fine, while I secretly photographed credit card statements and forwarded emails to Jillian. It was the hardest acting job of my life. 3 days later, I met Jillian again, this time at her office, a sleek space in a high-rise downtown. I found something, she said, spreading papers across her desk. Garrett's been transferring money to a separate account, $500 here, $1,000 there, always in amounts small enough not to trigger attention. How much total? Nearly $40,000. Over the past year. I felt the room tilt. $40,000? We'd delayed buying a new car because we were saving money. I'd stopped getting my hair done professionally because we were cutting back. Where's the money going? Jillian's expression turned grim. That's where it gets interesting. Some of it he spent on the affair, hotels, restaurants, gifts, but the bulk of it he's been investing in cryptocurrency, and he's been very careful to keep it hidden from you. Can we prove it? I'm working on it. I have a forensic accountant going through everything. She paused. There's something else. He's been meeting with a divorce attorney, Warren Steele, over at Morrison & Associates. My blood went cold. He's planning to leave me? Looks like it. But here's the thing. He's asking about protecting his assets. He's trying to figure out how to divorce you and keep as much money as possible. The betrayal hit me in waves. It wasn't just the affair. He was planning to leave me and take everything with him. So what do we do? Jillian leaned back in her chair. We file first, tomorrow. Catch him completely off guard. Tomorrow. The sooner we file, the sooner we can freeze accounts, prevent him from hiding more assets, and set the tone for the entire proceeding. Trust me, in divorce, the first move matters. I nodded, feeling numb. Okay, do it. One more thing, Jillian said. You need to decide how you want to handle telling him. Some people prefer to have their spouse served at work. Some do it at home. Some leave before the papers are delivered. I thought about Garrett sitting at the breakfast table, reading the newspaper, drinking the coffee I made him. Garrett who kissed me goodbye every morning. Garrett who was planning to take everything and leave me with nothing. Serve him at work, I said. I want everyone to know. Jillian smiled that cold smile again. I like your style. The next morning felt surreal. I made Garrett breakfast like always. Eggs over easy, wheat toast, orange juice. He ate while scrolling through his phone, probably texted her. No, not her, not Jillian anymore. He'd moved on, apparently. Jillian had shown me evidence last night. A new woman, younger. Garrett had already replaced his replacement. Have a good day, I said as he grabbed his briefcase. You too, babe. He kissed me. I tasted toothpaste and lies. At 10:30 a.m., Jillian texted me a single word. Done. Garrett had been served. At his office, in front of his colleagues, a process server had handed him divorce papers. I sat in my quiet house and waited. My phone rang at 10:47. Garrett. I let it ring. He called again and again. Then the texts started. Mallory, what the hell? This is insane. We need to talk. Pick up the phone. I can't believe you do this. That last one almost made me laugh. He couldn't believe I'd do this. I texted back once. Talk to your lawyer. Then I blocked his number. Jillian had advised me to stay somewhere else for a few days. Let him stew, let him panic. So I packed a bag and drove to my sister's house in Raleigh. Simone answered the door in yoga pants and a wine-stained t-shirt, her 5-year-old daughter henning off her leg. Mallory, what are you doing here? I burst into tears right there on her doorstep. 2 glasses of wine later, I told her everything. The affair, the hidden money, Jillian, all of it. Simone stared at me with her mouth open. You hired his mistress as your divorce lawyer? Yup. That's either the most brilliant or the most insane thing I've ever heard. Maybe both. I love it, Simone said, refilling my glass. Garrett is such a scumbag. Remember when he criticized your weight at my wedding? I'd forgotten about that. He said I looked healthy. Code for fat. I wanted to push him into the cake. We laughed, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than numb. Over the next few days, Jillian called with updates. Garrett had hired Warren Steele, just as she'd expected. He's claiming the cryptocurrency investments are his separate property. He wants the house. He wants half my retirement account. He's delusional, Jillian said. We have proof he used marital funds for everything. The cryptocurrency, the affair, all of it. Steele knows it too. He's already trying to negotiate. What does he want? Garrett wants to avoid a trial, wants to settle quietly, probably doesn't want the affair coming out publicly. Too bad, I said. I want a trial. I want everyone to know exactly what kind of person he is. Jillian was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? Trials are expensive, emotionally draining, and very public. I'm sure. Okay, then we go to war. 2 weeks later, I moved back into the house. Garrett had been staying at a hotel, and a temporary order gave me primary possession of the marital home. Walking into that house felt different. Everything looked the same furniture, the same photos on the walls, but it was all wrong now, like a movie set. Fake.
I started packing Garrett's things. Not out of spite, though that was part of it. Mostly because I couldn't stand looking at his stuff anymore. In the back of his closet, behind his winter coats, I found a shoebox. Inside were letters, dozens of them, handwritten on nice stationery. I opened one. "My darling Garrett, last night was magical. I can't stop thinking about the way you move." I stopped reading, felt sick. These weren't from Jillian. The handwriting was different, and the dates went back 3 years. 3 years! He'd been doing this for 3 years. I called Jillian immediately. I found letters from another woman, multiple women. I think this goes back years. "Bring them to my office, now." I drove downtown with the shoebox on my passenger seat, feeling like it might explode. Jillian's face went pale as she read through the letters. "This is worse than I thought. How many women do you think there were?" "At least 4, based on the different handwriting. Maybe more." She looked up at me. "Mallory, I need to tell you something, and you're probably going to be angry." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I hired a private investigator last week. I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure what we'd find." But she pulled out a folder. "Garrett has another bank account, one neither of us knew about, and he's been supporting someone financially." "Another woman?" "No." Jillian slid a photo across the desk. It showed Garrett with a teenage boy. They were at a baseball game, both wearing matching team jerseys. "That's Caleb. He's 15. I stared at the photo. "I don't understand." "Garrett has a son from a relationship before he met you. The mother's name is Naomi Shaw. She lives in Greenville. Garrett's been sending her money every month for child support, but he never told you about Caleb." The room spun. A son. Garrett had a son. "Does the boy know about me?" I whispered. "No. Garrett's been living a completely separate life. Naomi thinks Garrett is a traveling consultant who can't commit to a relationship. Caleb thinks his dad is too busy with work to visit more than once a month." I couldn't breathe. All these years, all these lies. "There's more," Jillian said gently. "Naomi reached out to me yesterday. She saw the divorce filing in the public records and wanted to know what was happening. She had no idea Garrett was married. She's furious." "She should be. She wants to help. She has records of all the payments Garrett made, and she said if we need her to testify, she will." I looked at Jillian, really looked at her. This woman who Garrett had lied to, who'd believed his promises, who was now sitting across from me, offering to destroy him. "Why are you doing this? Really doing this? You could have just walked away." Jillian was quiet for a long moment. "My mom was married to a man like Garrett. He cheated on her for years, lied about everything. When she finally divorced him, he hid assets, dragged out the proceedings, made her life hell. She died before it was finalized. Heart attack. The stress killed her. I'm so sorry. I became a divorce lawyer because of her, because I wanted to help women like her, women who deserved better but were trapped by men who thought they could get away with anything." She met my eyes. "I fell for Garrett's lies just like you did, just like Naomi did, just like whoever wrote those letters. He's good at what he does, but I'm better at what I do." "Thank you," I said, "for all of this. Thank me when we win." The discovery phase was brutal. Garrett's lawyer fought everything, but Jillian was relentless. She subpoenaed bank records, phone records, credit card statements. She interviewed Garrett's coworkers. She tracked down the women who'd written the letters. One of them agreed to give a deposition. Her name was Laurel, and she'd been seeing Garrett 2 years ago. He'd told her he was widowed. Widowed? He'd killed me off in his lies. "Did he ever mention wanting children?" Jillian asked during the deposition. Laurel nodded.
all the time. He said his late wife couldn't have kids, and it was his biggest regret. He wanted a family so badly. I sat in that conference room listening to this woman describe conversations with my husband, conversations where I was dead and couldn't have kids, and I wanted to scream. But Jillian had taught me to channel that rage into something useful.
After the deposition, Jillian showed me her trial strategy. We're going to paint a picture of systematic deception, not just the affairs, but the financial manipulation, the secret child, the fake identities he created. We're going to show that Garrett Prescott is a con artist who's been running a long game against you. Will it work? Judge Callahan hates liars, and we have so much evidence that Garrett can't possibly dispute it all. His lawyer knows they're in trouble. Sure enough, Warren Steele called Jillian 2 days later with a settlement offer. Garrett would give me the house, half the cryptocurrency, and 60% of his retirement account. He'd pay my legal fees. In exchange, I'd agree to seal the records and not discuss the case publicly. He's trying to buy your silence, Jillian said. How much are we talking? She told me. It was a significant amount of money, more than I'd expected. What do you think I should do? I asked. That's not my decision. I can tell you the trial could get you more, but it's not guaranteed, and trials are unpredictable. She paused. But I can also tell you that Garrett's scared. This offer proves it. He knows we have him. I thought about sitting in a courtroom, listening to all the details of his betrayals laid out publicly, watching him squirm, getting justice. But I also thought about being done, about moving on, about not letting Garrett take up any more of my space or my time. Counteroffer, I said. I want everything he's offering plus 70% of the cryptocurrency. Plus, he has to pay Naomi double child support retroactively for every year he lied about being Caleb's father. Plus, he has to tell Caleb the truth about being married. Jillian grinned. Now you're thinking like a lawyer. The negotiation took 2 more weeks. Garrett fought the child support increase, but Naomi's lawyer got involved, and suddenly Garrett was facing potential legal troubles in multiple states. He caved. We signed the settlement agreement on a rainy Tuesday in April. Garrett looked terrible. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes. Good. His hand shook as he signed the papers. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no sadness. Just done. Until I saw what Jillian had added to the final page. In tiny print at the bottom, in the section about payment of legal fees, there was a line item. The respondent shall pay attorney Jillian Thorne's legal fees in the amount of $1. I looked at her. She was already watching me. After the signing, after Garrett and his lawyer left, I confronted her. $1? Your fees had to be at least $50,000. $63,000, actually, said Jillian calmly, but I didn't do this for the money. Jillian, I can't let you... You're not letting me do anything. This was my choice. Garrett owed me something he could never repay. This was the closest I could get to even. She leaned forward. But Mallory, I got to spend 3 months destroying a man who thought he could lie to everyone and get away with it. I got to use every skill I've learned, every dirty trick I know, every bit of knowledge I have to take him apart piece by piece. That was worth more than any fee. I hugged her. This woman who'd been my husband's mistress, who'd become my lawyer, who'd become something like a friend. What will you do now? She asked. I don't know. I've been so focused on the divorce that I haven't thought about after. You should think about it. You have a whole life ahead of you. She was right. The house sold 3 months later. I didn't want to live there anymore. Didn't want the memories. I found a cute condo in Charlotte's art district, close to coffee shops and galleries and people who didn't know my story. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. Took a pottery class, adopted a cat named Judge because it made me laugh. Simone visited often, bringing her daughter and too much wine. We'd sit on my balcony and talk about everything and nothing. Naomi brought Caleb to meet me once. It was awkward and strange, but Caleb was a sweet kid who deserved to know the truth.
He was angry at Garrett, confused about everything. I gave him my number and told him he could call if he ever wanted to talk. He never called, but I hoped knowing the option was there helped somehow.
Jillian and I met for coffee once a month. We didn't talk about Garrett. We talked about her cases, my art, the books we were reading, the terrible dating app experiences we were having. I matched with a guy who's definitely married, she told me one afternoon. His photos have a ring tan and he'll only meet during business hours. Did you report him? Better, I matched with him using a fake profile, suggested we meet at this really nice restaurant, and then didn't show up. Left him waiting for an hour. I laughed so hard I snorted coffee. That's petty. I prefer justice adjacent. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was at the grocery store when I literally bumped into someone's cart. I'm so sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Mallory. I looked up. Garrett stood there, holding a cart with a box of diapers and baby food. For a moment, we just stared at each other. He looked different, older, tired. There was a woman standing next to him, very pregnant, looking uncomfortable. "How were you?" he asked awkwardly. "Good," I said, and I realized it was true. Really good. That's great." He shifted his weight. "Look, I've been meaning to reach out. I wanted to apologize for everything. You didn't deserve any of that." The woman next to him touched his arm gently. She looked young, maybe 25. "It's okay," I said. "I'm past it." And I was. Looking at him, I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, no longing for what we'd had. Just a mild curiosity about how I'd ever thought this man was my whole world. "I heard you're painting," he said. "That's really cool." "How did you hear that?" "Caleb mentioned it. He follows you on Instagram." "Oh, that surprised me. I didn't know he did that." "Yeah, he thinks your work is really good. He's thinking about studying art in college." We made small talk for another minute, then said goodbye. As I walked away, I heard the pregnant woman ask who I was. "My ex-wife," Garrett said quietly. I turned down the cereal aisle and smiled to myself. That night, I texted Jillian. Ran into Garrett at the grocery store. He's having a baby with someone new. She texted back immediately. "How do you feel?" "Grateful it's not me." That's my girl. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony looking out at the city lights. A year ago, I'd been living a lie and hadn't known it. I'd thought I had everything when I actually had nothing real. Now I had less, at least materially. A smaller home, a smaller life by most measures. But it was mine, really mine, built on truth instead of lies. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number, and for a split second, my heart jumped, thinking of all those messages from Jillian that had started everything. But this was from Caleb. "Hey, Mallory, I saw your latest painting on Instagram, the blue one with the birds. I really liked it. Anyway, I'm applying to art schools next year and was wondering if you'd be willing to look at my portfolio sometime. No pressure if that's weird." I smiled and typed back, "I'd love to. When are you free?" As I hit send, I thought about the strange, twisted path that had brought me here, how the worst betrayal of my life had somehow led to this moment, sitting on my balcony, texting with a kid who was technically nothing to me, but felt like family anyway. How my husband's side chick kept sending me proof of their affair, and I hired her as my divorce lawyer, and somehow that insane decision had been exactly right. Because Jillian hadn't just helped me divorce Garrett, she'd helped me divorce the version of myself who'd been willing to settle for a beautiful lie instead of demanding an ugly truth. And that, I thought, taking a sip of wine and watching the city lights twinkle, was worth more than any settlement. 6 months after that grocery store encounter, I got an invitation in the mail. Jillian was getting married. I didn't expect to be invited, so seeing the cream-colored envelope with my name on it felt surreal. The wedding was at a vineyard outside Charlotte, black tie optional. I almost didn't go. It still felt strange, this friendship we'd built on such a bizarre foundation. But I bought a dress and showed up. The venue was beautiful. All string lights and roses. Jillian looked stunning in a simple white dress, her hair up, smiling wider than I'd ever seen her smile. Her husband-to-be was a cardiologist named Elias,
And watching them together, I could see the difference. The way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. The way she leaned into him, relaxed and happy. This was what real love looked like. During the reception, Jillian found me at the bar. "You came," she said. "Of course I came. I wasn't sure if you would. I know this is all still weird." "It's definitely weird," I agreed, "but I'm glad I'm here." We stood there for a moment watching the dancing. "I never thanked you properly," Jillian said. "For what? You're the one who saved my life." "No, you saved mine. Meeting you, helping you, it reminded me why I do this job. It reminded me that I deserved better too." She gestured to Elias, who was dancing with his niece. "I never would have let myself have this if you hadn't shown me it was possible to walk away from the wrong person." "Jillian, I mean it. We saved each other." I hugged her. This woman who'd been my enemy, then my lawyer, then my ally, then my friend. "Dance with me," she said, pulling me toward the floor. We danced and laughed, and I caught the bouquet, even though I wasn't trying to, and everyone cheered. On my way out that night, I checked my phone and saw I had a message from a dating app, some guy named Sawyer, who seemed normal, or at least normal enough to agree to coffee. I hesitated for just a second, thinking about Garrett, about trust, about how badly people could hurt you. Then I thought about Jillian in her wedding dress, about Caleb's art portfolio that I'd spent last weekend reviewing, about Judge the cat waiting for me at home, about the painting I was working on that I actually thought might be good. I thought about how the worst thing that ever happened to me had somehow led to the best version of myself. I typed back, "Coffee sounds great. How about Thursday?" Because here's the thing about rock bottom that I learned. Once you hit it, once you survive it, you realize you're stronger than you ever knew. You realize that you can rebuild, that you can trust again, that you can take what tried to destroy you and turn it into something powerful. Garrett had tried to take everything from me while leaving me with nothing but lies. Instead, he'd given me the truth, even if he hadn't meant to. And the truth, painful as it was, had set me free. I drove home through the dark streets of Charlotte, past the house where I used to live, past the restaurant where Garrett proposed, past all the ghosts of my old life, and I didn't feel sad. I felt grateful. Because the girl who would have forgiven Garrett, who would have believed his excuses, who would have stayed in that beautiful lie, she was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who understood that being alone was better than being with someone who made you feel alone. Someone who had turned her husband's affair into her own origin story. And honestly, that person was so much better than who I used to be. My phone buzzed again. Caleb got accepted to RISD. I pulled over to text back proper congratulations, sitting in my car in the dark, grinning like an idiot. The Rhode Island School of Design. That kid was going to be amazing. Another text came through, this time from Simone. "Girls' night Friday. I have news." Then Jillian. "Thank you for coming tonight. It meant everything." Then Sawyer from the dating app. "Thursday works. Looking forward to it." I sat there looking at my phone, at this collection of messages from people who were in my life now, people who wouldn't have been if Garrett hadn't cheated, if Jillian hadn't sent those messages, if I hadn't made the insane choice to hire my husband's mistress as my divorce lawyer. Sometimes the worst decisions people make about you lead to the best decisions you make for yourself. Sometimes the person who tries to destroy you accidentally gives you the tools to rebuild stronger. Sometimes your husband's side chick becomes the best lawyer you ever hired and one of the best friends you ever made. Life is weird like that. I started the car and drove toward my condo, toward Judge and my half-finished painting and my quiet, honest, hard-won little life.